the situation facing the children on the ground, in the children's homes and in the government facilities is not in fact appropriate. The response is not complete. We also have a great concern about children in the juvenile justice system, in the correctional facilities, because there is no clear indication in Jamaica at this time of what bodies are in fact finally responsible for their care, whether it is the Department of Corrections under the Ministry of National Security or the Child Development Agency under the Ministry of Health. And what we are concerned about is, even in the reporting of the government to this Commission today, that the full resources available under the Child Development Agency, we note, for example, mention of a panel of 4 psychologists or psychiatrists being available to children in the CDA system. Those are not made available to the children in the juvenile correctional facilities, and there should be no distinction in the full services offered by the Child Development Agency based on whether or not a child is in conflict with the law. All the facilities and programs should be made available to the children, and this is a major concern for us, and we have had no response from the Ministers of National Security and National Health to letters that we sent to them for clarity on what we consider a very important question.
Of the legal representation of the victims, if something has been done?
At the moment, my understanding is that some of the children are being represented by the legal officers or the legal department of the Office of the Children's Advocate. I note that the Office of the Public Defender had been contacted by some of the families of victims and survivors, and I note that there was at least one family that had a private attorney representing them. Again, this is of concern to us that the children and their families, both the survivors and the families of those who died, need to be assured proper, independent legal representation as this matter goes forward.
The State has the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. First, response to the question and the overall comment made by Commissioner Roberts. We would certainly like it, and as a matter of record, to indicate that the government is not here to suppress any evidence coming out of the inquiry. That's not our intention, and I want to be very clear and unequivocal about that. What we say, at the risk of making myself repetitive, what we say is that in Jamaica we have a certain process. In the legal field we call it the sub judice rule. This matter is now before a commission of inquiry which was ordered by the Governor General, and it would be inappropriate for the government to start commenting on the evidence which was led before the Commission of Inquiry in the absence of any finding of fact by the Commission of Inquiry. That's all we say, and that's all we represent. I can take it no further as far as that is concerned. As far as the specific questions are concerned, Commissioners, on the question of education of the children in places of custody and juvenile centers, that there is now a move or a policy for the Ministry of Education to assume the responsibility for the education of juveniles or children in places of safety and juvenile centers. And I am sure that in the coming months more will be said of this, but the government is committed to that and is moving along with that process. As to the psychological health of the juveniles, as I indicated in my presentation, in the aftermath of Armadale, the children who have been identified as perpetrators, that is those who abuse their peers, are now subjected to a team of psychologists working with them from the Ministry of Health. And every effort is being made to recruit additional psychologists to help with the psychological health and well-being of the affected children. As to the question of dwindling resources, this is indeed a challenge, as it is for any other developing country in the world. And we will have to come up with innovative ways within which to meet the challenges of resources. And I think one of those innovations, certainly being deployed now by the Office of the by the Child Development Agency, is reorienting the children into families and foster care so as to relieve the burden on the state of keeping institutions open when the resources are not there to keep them fully maintained, and as a consequence of that, assist in the welfare and well-being of the children. Now, there are weaknesses in that, but we feel that with this new program, then instead of what we call the child going to the services will go to the child and will assist in the home background. Yes, there are weaknesses as been identified by Jamaicans for Justice, but we are using every available resource and opportunity to strengthen those weaknesses and perfect the program within the context of the limited resources which the state now has. As to the separation of adults from children, I think we have embarked, and this is part of the new culture, which I say, which is emerging, and I think the Montpellier Remand Center is an example of this, where children are separated from adults and kept in an institution which is more suited for the development of the child. As to the recommendations of the children's advocate, I'm going to ask Ms. Anderson to just speak very briefly to that issue, as she has been integral in some of those, implementation of some of those recommendations.
Excuse me, we are really running out of time, so we have 2 minutes left, really.
Thank you. The Office of the Children's Advocate issues an annual report, periodic reports, and episodic reports to those in authority for children in state care. And those reports were required to respond to them, not only in terms of indicating what are the actions, but also the timelines, and then it is habitual for the Office of the Children's Advocate to go back to over what we have said has been done to check whether it's being done. So that is how, generally speaking, that's the process involved and the protocol. And where, of course, as you know, the Office of the Children's Advocate may also prosecute where there are instances that they feel that there has been delinquency of duty on the part of authorities, and that has also occurred.
And Chairman, just for completeness, the final thing was the question of the physical facilities in relation to some of the wards who have been removed from Armadale. I think, Mrs. Right now we will admit, the state will admit that because of the developments of Armadale and when the wards were removed to the Diamond Crest Villa, the experience has been surely that a number of wards use violence against the greater majority of ones, and the ones that were using the violence had to be isolated and kept in a separate location so as to maintain the peace and dignity of those who were not violent, if I may put it that way. The issue is that the physical facilities to keep those who are very violent do not exist in Jamaica today. That has been recognized. And it is so with some trepidation that I do say they are housed at the Horizon Remand Center, which is an adult facility. But every effort is being made to locate a suitable facility, certainly within the foreseeable future, so that those violent ones can be isolated and the necessary remedial actions taken in an atmosphere which is conducive to their welfare and well-being. May it please you, those.
Thanks to both parties. As you are aware, the Commission is preparing a report on the situation of citizen security and violence and human rights in Jamaica as a follow-up of its local visit that conducted in December last year. So all the additional information or updated information that you may send to us about the situation of children in custody in Jamaica will be very welcome. Thank you very much. We will continue in 5 minutes with the next hearing.